Good morning, everyone. Here for our usual Friday live Sony news and rumours show. Let me just turn down that volume. So say hi in the chat. We're going to have a little bit of pre-show just so we can make sure everyone knows that we're live. So pop in and say hi in the chat. I'll just put a thing down there. Oh, I've got to start the timer actually. Where's the timer? We press that to start. Beautiful. Now, if you don't want to watch all of the pre-show, all of this stuff, I will put down on the timeline down below a timeline of everything that's going on. So you can skip to the story that you know. And that will be basically put live as soon as this broadcast is finished. So stay tuned for that if you do want to skip to one story. So let's say hi to everyone. Let me just bring this up. So who have we got in here? We've got Bulldogs is saying hello. The Essential Light is also saying hello. Nivek is also saying good morning. Altric, g'day Altric. Alex from the UK, you're up nice and late, Alex. Long Rider, come on David, spill the beans. What beans am I spilling, Long Rider? Eric said hello. Sam said morning, David. Scissorman said hey all. David says hello, David. How you doing? I'm doing really great, thank you, David. Chris said hello, David. Hot day in Los Angeles, real Corona day. It's cold here today. What are we going to be today? Top of 17 Celsius today. So we're in winter. I don't know what that is in Celsius in Fahrenheit, but it's not cold. I mean, it's going to be quite a pleasant day. I wish it was a Corona day, though. I'm missing my Corona days with you guys. It'll have to be a couple of months away, and I'll be back on Corona with you all. Steve is also here. G'day, Steve Lewis, saying good evening from East Coast. SRM Media saying, hey, watching in the car, waiting for a drone shoot. Cool. G'day, Dion. Good to see you in here. Michelle said, hello, David and everyone. Hi, Michelle. How are you? 823 said, hi, David. John says, morning from the UK. Dion says baked beans. What's baked beans mean, Dion? Alex says, what are you having to hide from Kerry this week? Nothing. I'm not hiding anything from Kerry. Someone was talking in our photography videography school. I think it was, who was it? It was Daniel said, how long do you think David's going to be able to wait when the 105 1.4 is released, a Sony lens? And I said, oh my God, Kerry would kill me. I've just bought the 135, which I adore, by the way. So I don't think I'll be buying anything really soon. I'm really waiting for Sony to release something. And I was just watching Camera Conspiracy's video he's put up. Watch it after you've watched this, about having a go at Sony taking so long to release a camera. It's really funny. Alex says, I read that. 17 Celsius is 62 Fahrenheit. Yeah, so we're 62 Fahrenheit today, guys. So it's a pretty cool one. Nivek said the same thing, which is nice early spring day here in parts of the north and US. Yeah, we've got a nice weekend coming up, actually, because I think it's around 17 or 18 degrees over the weekend. So sounds like it's going to be a nice one. I've got a shoot on Sunday morning. I'm going to photograph Rebecca, you know, the really red-headed girl that I've photographed a couple of times. I'm going to photograph her in Melbourne on Sunday morning before I go to Comic-Con. So I want to test out the A1X Profoto, so I'm going to do a shoot for that so I can review that gear. So looking forward to that coming up, so it should be a nice day. Brett's saying good morning, guys. G'day, Brett. Good to see you in here. David's saying 62 degrees Fahrenheit. Barry says good morning. Carl Ryan says 62 Fahrenheit is cool. Yeah, well, it is for us. Although it's been a bit cooler this week, and now it's gone back to sort of its usual sort of temperature. So it is our winter, remember. It's not cool compared to European weather, though, obviously. B10 Plus, I'm going to talk about, Dave, at the end of today. I think it's the last story. I'm going to talk about that. Talk to you about whether I'm going to get it, not get it, what my thinking is. I probably will get a review unit of that B10 Plus, though, sent to me. So I'll review it, obviously, when I can get that as well. James says 100 to 400 GM and Sigma 105 1.4 coming tomorrow. Lovely, James. Fantastic. You're going to love that. I love the 104. The 100 to 400 when I did a shoot with it. I love that lens. maybe one I get somewhere down the track. And the Sigma 105 I love that lens, so you're going to love it. Portraits, it's stunning. Andre says, hi David, we'll see on Monday a Sony 100 1.4. I don't think we will, Andre. I'll talk about that in a few minutes, but I don't think it's going to be the 105 at all. So I think it's going to be something a little bit different than that. That's what I'm going to talk about in my first story. I'm just going to give it another, say, minute or so, and then we'll start, guys. I just want to make sure everyone knows. Can you please give me a thumbs up, because it does let people know. Some reason YouTube is not giving out the notifications. I tend to be getting them sometimes an hour after the live start for something. It's a bit weird. I don't know what's going on. So if you can give me a thumbs up, that would be fantastic. Loving these two lenses that I've got, obviously, the two G Masters. Funny, I didn't have any G Masters, now I've got two. I am going to be using these extensively on the shoot on Sunday with Rebecca, so I can't wait for that. Really looking forward to it. They're both beautiful lenses. I have sold my 35 1.4, so that has sold now. And I'm in the process of selling my Sony A7R II. I think I'm going to sell it today. I think someone's contacted me about it. Let me just check. I think they're coming today to purchase that. So I've probably have got rid of that as well. I'm just preempting things, wanting to get rid of a little bit of inventory that I'm not using so much anymore. Since I've got the 24, I just haven't been using the 35 anywhere near as much due to the weight and stuff. So I think this is going to be my new go-to lens for that sort of focal length, I think. I know it's wider, but you know, it's still very, very workable in my testing that I've done. So, and I adore this lens. I love the weight of it. I love the way it works. I love the feel of it. So I have sold my 35 1.4. And I just made a conscious decision to say, well, look, if something's not getting used that much at all, I'm just going to get rid of it. And I've sold, even though I love my 24, I'm selling that as well, the APS-C lens, a 24 1.8. So that's going as well, because now I'm using the Sigma 16 lens, the 1.4, and I adore that. That's what I'm using now to shoot. This is the 6400 with the Sigma 16 1.4 on there, and I love that combination. So I've decided to also sell that 24 1.8, and I think that's going as well this morning. I was just checking messages. So yeah, so I've got some things happening. I'm selling the Sony A7R II due to the fact that I've got a feeling, hoping that there will be another announcement coming fairly soon. Like if you watch Camera Conspiracy's chat this morning, it's really quite funny. But I'm hoping there's another camera coming soon. So I think I'm trying to get rid of it now before it drops too much in value. So I'm preempting something coming out. And then obviously the second something's announced, then I've just got the money sitting there ready to go and I can just purchase a new camera. So whether that's, you know, the A7S or whether it's an A7 IV, I'm not sure, but or even an A7000. But yeah, so I thought, well, seeing I'm not using it that much at all, I'll get rid of that now too. So I am trying to take stock of what I've got. So there you go. All right, so what we're going to do, guys, we're going to start with the show. So bear with me just while I bring up this, and then obviously I've got to put the time down. So bear with me and we'll start today's show. G'day everyone, welcome to the Sony News and Rumours show live. We've basically just had a bit of a pre-show, so like I said in the pre-show to everyone, if you don't want to watch the whole show, you can just scroll down below and there'll be a timeline. The funny thing is, I keep looking up there because I've got the monitor up at the moment on the A6400, and it's hard not to consciously look up, and I keep going that way to look up. I've got to stop doing that. I'd actually like it. This A6400 is quite good because, you know what I've done a few times, and I hate it? I've actually left my camera on for 24 hours because I leave it, I forget to turn it off. So what I've done now is I've put the screen up so it's facing me at the top, and then at least I know the camera's on. It's a bit of a problem because you don't have like monitors and things like that that are showing you that the camera's on. But it seems to work all right. I was just checking focusing, and it will focus up. It's just a little bit slow because I've got face detect on. It always tries to hunt for the face, but it seems like it's focusing reasonably well. So a bit different look than what my A7R was, because that obviously had the 35 on there. So this is a bit wider. Do you like the bit more wider look? Got my Sony cup here. So let me just quickly go to the chat just to see what people are saying. I was talking early on. Oh, I've got a donation already. Let me just have a look at that one. Long Rider, $5. Thank you so much, Long Rider. I really appreciate that. I really do. That means a lot to me. All right, so let's see what people are saying. Where were we up to? Oh, if you can too, please give me a thumbs up, guys, just because people don't know that the notifications are playing up on YouTube. So it does let people know that I'm on live. So if you can give me a thumbs up, I would appreciate it. What are these lenses being announced? Do we know? I'm going to talk about that as the first story, James, so stay tuned. We'll look at that in the first story today. Richard also says, happy with the 85 1.8 and the 70-200 f4. Well, I've still got the 70-200 f4, and I'm not going to sell that lens. Well, I don't think I will. There's no reason to. I still love that lens. So that's one I probably will be keeping, and it's one that I use all the time. Every wedding, I still take the 70-200 f4 with me. But I have to be honest with you that I'm probably going to be using this more than anything. I think the way I'm going to probably start shooting weddings now is to be using the 24 and also the 135, and I'll probably, inside of that, use the Batis 85 for some occasional shots that I do, and also the 70-200, and the 16-35 also will be used. So they're probably the lenses that I'll be using most of the time. But I really, after you've started to shoot with a 135, it's hard to put that lens down. Yeah, I'm with you, Dion, too. He said, I would not sell my 55 1.8 even though I don't use it much. I love that lens. It's not here, it's actually in the other room. But there's no way I'm going to sell that lens either. And the reason why is because I adore that lens on a gimbal. So I think gimbal-wise, I'm probably going to use this quite a lot, the 24 GM. And I'll also, then if I want to get that nice parallax type look, I'll put the 55 1.8 on there because I do love that lens. The other thing too is it still seems to be the best focusing lens that I've got when you're dealing with low light. That lens is superb. So yeah, there's no way, I'm with you, Dion, there's no way I'll get rid of the 55. I love it. Small, really light, great focusing. No, there's no way I'll get rid of that lens. Andre says he got the notification. Okay, good, thanks. Because some people, it's playing up. I don't know what's going on with that. Do these lenses cost more than my price? I don't know. Well, I'll talk about that in a second. Rui's also saying hello. Taylor's saying waiting for Sony to open the gates to the telephoto heaven. Nivak said the 24 GM is probably the best prime I've ever owned. It is a fantastic lens. I'm with Dion that I wouldn't sell my 55. Long Rider said, sell the A7R2 and buy the Wi-Fi coat. Buy the Wi-Fi coat. I love it. That's funny, Long Rider. Greetings from Ontario, Canada. John said, Jim said, show begins. Oh, thanks, Jim. Good to see you in here, Jim. Hatfilm says, any news on the Tamron? That's going to be one of the stories that we'll talk about today as well, so stay tuned for that one. Casper said, Best Buy took their A7S2 model off display last week. Oh, I wonder why. Interesting. Photoman said, hi, David. Jim said, thumbs up. SRM Media says, I just did that with my A7R2 waiting for the A7S3. Well, that's what I'm thinking too, SRM. That's why I'm selling it now, because I think it's probably best to do it and preempt something that's going to happen. So I am trying to sell the A7R2 now. Funny thing was, Hannah contacted me the other day, Hannah Saber, and he said to me, am I switching? I said, no way am I switching, Hannah. I'm just getting rid of some stuff. It's because I was selling quite a bit of gear. I think he thought I was switching brands. I had to laugh. And I said, no, I'm not switching, mate. It's just that I want to get rid of some gear I'm not using. Rui says, yes, I like the wider look. Yeah, it looks pretty good, doesn't it? And I'm going to be able to show some things on the bench and stuff like that as well. This 16, I must review this 16 Sigma. It's fantastic. I love it. What else have we got? Jim said there is one thumbs down. There is two. There's already one thumbs down. Dion said you can see the coffee in the cup. You can, I know. What else? Unbox said, yeah, I use my A6400 for video with the Sigma 16. It's great. It is. It's fantastic. I love it. Hey yo, dong gong, amazing peeps. What's that mean? Casper said, you need the 85 GM now. I don't think so, Casper. I might, look, I'm not saying I'll never get that, but I believe, and this is something I want to say to you guys, I believe there'll be another version of the 85 released fairly soon. I think you're going to find that they're going to put the focusing systems that they have in this in there. And remember, a lot of manufacturers do bring out version 2s of their lenses, so I probably would wait for that. If they brought out a GM version with the same focusing motors as the 135, I'd buy it straight away. Photoman says, I use that lens all the time indoor, love the 55. So do I, love it. It's fantastic. Did you see Jonathan Morrison live on YouTube? Apple used a Canon 8K unreleased cinema camera. Yeah, well, there's rumors going around, Joe, that was a Nikon camera. That's the rumor that was around. I did see on Nikon rumors that they were talking about that, and it was meant to be some unreleased Nikon. So, Howdy from New South Wales. G'day, Jamie. David said, Dave, I did get the notification. Have a great day. That's good. Carl said, I'm going to sell my A100. James said, I love the Sigma 50 Art on gimbals for weddings, but heavy. Yeah, that's the reason why look, the two gimbals that I use on weddings, the ones I love are the Tamron 28-75. I love that on a gimbal. This is just amazing, the G Master. The other one I love too, if you're dealing with, say, the A6400, is the 16mm, and the 55 obviously is also a great gimbal lens as well. What else have we got? Brett said, I just got my new 27 IPS 4K UHD support RGB monitor. Lovely, Brett. Sounds really nice. How much was that one? Mike said, I hope they release the A7S soon. I'll have to buy the Blackmagic 4K camera. I know, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? But you know what? If it's really, really good, it's going to be worth the wait. And that's what I'm saying. It would be worse if Sony released this early and there's problems with it. I might talk about that a little bit while we go through all the news stories once I get through these little bits. Stuart said, just told my Tamron 20-75mm about 45 minutes ago, and I'm selling my 55 too to get the Sigma 105. Interesting. So you sold the Tamron 28-75, did you, Stuart? Wow, I wouldn't sell that. I love that lens. But everyone wants different things. Erica said, hello, just joined. Hello, Erica. Good to see you in here. JB said, hello, guys. Casper said, hello. Or trade for a Canon RP. A100 is better than the RP. Oh, guys, come on. Delta Dave said, saw 400 GM being used by photography covering the Mets Giants basketball game, assuming it was on an A9. It probably would have been, yep. Greetings from Marvin, New York. A9, 100, 400, great for birds of prey. Good show. They certainly are. All right, so let's get started, guys. We got stacks to go through today. Let me just put in here this first story, which is the 200-600. What are we on? 1830. All right, so let's have a look at the first story, which is talking about this. Now, it's an SR5. Now, I'm not sure what's going on because Sony Alpha rumors have changed. Whether they were told the wrong thing, I'm not actually quite sure. But they were saying originally that it was going to be announced this morning. So I expected when I got up this morning that they were going to have the lens released. And what they're saying is that it's going to be a 200-600mm f5.6 to 6.3, and it will cost around $2,000. But it seems that what they're saying is all the Instagrammers or whatever they're, the influencers, have had to sign NDAs, and that's been extended. So it looks like they're saying there's going to be another lens announcement that's going to come up. So they're saying here, sorry again for confusing 200-600mm announcement rumors, but as you see, there was a major change because now we have two FE lenses that are going to be unveiled early next week. So they're saying now that it's going to be Monday, which is interesting. But they're saying a second lens has been unveiled to them at the very end of the meeting that they had, and the lens is a fast telephoto prime. Now, I'm guessing, before we do that, let me just sort of bring up this next thing. I thought I'd also talk to you about the size of this 200 to 600mm lens. So you can see here, if you look at this sort of size comparison, if you're dealing with this, say, compared to the 100 to 400, the 400 2.8 GM, and the 200 to 500 Tamron. So you can sort of see the lens size when you're dealing with it there, because that was that one that was leaked, the spec. So we're thinking that that's the size that it's going to be. They're also saying that it's going to be around $2,000 US. So that's not bad value if you're dealing with a lens for that range, at that price range. So I think it's quite interesting. So I'm not sure what the other lens would be. Now, I have got a feeling that I don't think it's going to be the 105. I know a lot of people were sort of guessing, hoping that it would be well, they're saying telephoto, so in theory that should mean that it's going to be a longer type zoom lens. I know some people are saying, well, it can be anything that has that property about the lens, but I don't think it's going to be the 105 yet. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because I still think they need to release these lenses before the Olympics to give enough time for people to get them out, test them and everything else. So I think it probably will be a 600 f4. That's what my guess is going to be. I really think that's what it's going to be. Now, do you guys, I'd love to know what you think in the chat. I've had some people say they think or hope that it might be, a 35 1.8. I don't think that's what it's going to be. I mean, I don't classify that as a telephoto zoom. It's not, is it? And I also don't think they're ready yet, because this has just been released, the 135. I don't think that they'll release a 105 that close to it, because I think they probably could take sales away from each other. Whereas say a 600mm f4 is not going to take sales away from that other lens, because the ones that will be using that 600 f4 are going to be the professional sports shooters, professionals that do wildlife, things like that. So I think there's room for both the 200 to 600 variable aperture lens, as well as, say, having a 600 prime, which will be way more expensive. So I've got a feeling that's probably what it's going to be, but I'd love to know what you guys think that it possibly could be. Do you think it's going to be the 105? I don't. I don't think that Sony would do that. I think it would be a bit of a silly move at this stage to release a 105 so close to the 135. But what do you think? I mean, let me know in the chat. I'd love to know what you think about that, because I just think it'll be a 600 f4. I notice here that Unbox has just said that I'm happy with my 100 to 400 GM for my needs. 500 f4 is my guess. Oh, you think 500 f4? See, I think it'll be a 600. I don't think 500 is enough, but well, let's wait and see, but I'm not convinced. I've got a feeling it's a 600. Carl said a 600 1.2. You need a truck to hold it, Carl. I love it. Jim said, agreed on Sony lens releases. Yeah, I think, look, we know for certain that, well, we don't know for certain, but there has been patents, I think, released for the 105. So we know a 105 is going to be coming somewhere down the track. But I've got a feeling it's not yet. Like I said, I think it would be just too close to the 135 release. And I think they would potentially take sales away from each other. So if you're dealing with this 200 to 600 variable as against the 600 constant f4, massive difference in price. and a massive difference in use. So I think that's probably what it will be. I think it'll be a 600 f4. Unbox says Nikon has a 500 f4. Well, it could be 500. I'm just guessing 600 as well. But that's just what I'm thinking. James said zoom ring is on the far right side. Yes, it does seem to be that way too when you're looking at it, James. But remember that we don't know how close that is to the release version. We don't know that at all, so we'll have to wait and see, I suppose, when it's actually released. Can you imagine the size of a 600 1.2? I know, that's what I'm saying. You need a truck to hold it. And I still think, see, we're also still waiting on Sony to release this fast prime lens that they've also talked about. You know, this 1.2, and I think that probably could be an 85 1.2 or a 50 1.2, potentially with these new motors, and that's, you know, sort of why I'm hanging out waiting to see where that develops, as I'd love a 1.2 lens. They have said that they want to do that, so that's just a matter of time as well. But I don't think any of the lenses that have just been announced or going to be announced on Monday are going to be in that range. I think they're going to be that big telephoto zoom type lens. Lenny Cott said Canon uses the same basic design for their 400 to 600, so it will be easier for Sony to release a 600. 500 f4 is a different design. Interesting. Thanks for saying that. That's interesting. Carl said wait for the release. That image going around the web is a bonus. Yeah, and I think you don't know whether that's an exact copy. They might have changed it since then. We just don't know. Reuven said totally agree. It's a 600 f4. That's what I think it will be too. Mike said, love the channel, David. I've ordered the 24GM. How do I check to make sure I don't receive a defective lens? Any tests other than the obvious? Not really, Mike. Look, you know what? I don't look for those sort of things because I think the second you start looking for things, you find problems. All you do is just test it, try it out, see if it works well, and that's all I ever do. I've never sort of, you know, grabbed the lens and sort of tried to start to see if I can see faults and stuff like that. I just start shooting it, and I've never seen a problem with any of the lenses that I've had, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. If you're going to get a GM lens, the chances of you getting a bad copy of that is very, very, very small because Sony aren't mucking around with those lenses. Any lenses nowadays, they're all made very, very well with you know, high quality control. So Tim said, I think that Sony camera delay could be around the new codec development. Maybe they still might be waiting on a sensor. You don't know. I mean, who knows? It could even be overheating. It may potentially be the overheating. 85 1.2 will be amazing. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping that Sony brings out. Brett said definitely 600 f4. I agree, Brett. That's what I think it is. All right, so let's go on to the next one. Let me just put this time on there. What are we on? 27:06. 10. So the next story is... I'll put these wrong way around, actually, because it was going... Oh, no, it is that one. I've missed the story. Let me just put in here. Sony sales. We'll be on 2030, 27:30. If I don't put timelines down, people crack it. So I just thought I'd better put that down. So this one here, I know I mentioned this last week, but don't forget too, there's massive sales at the moment going on with Sony in the US. Now, I know there's sales here as well. I think there's some cashback offers on in Australia. There probably is elsewhere in the world as well. But Sony at the moment have got some incredible sales. So if you are thinking about buying one, look, I know, and let me just say, I know that you might say you want to wait for another camera that comes out, but if you have the need for a camera at the moment, it's a great time to buy. And remember, even if a new camera comes out, the camera is still amazing that you buy today or you've bought yesterday. It still will do everything that you bought it for. So I wouldn't worry about that. Like particularly if you want to buy an A9 now, I wouldn't hesitate if you think you need one. But if you're looking here. If you're thinking about getting a Sony A7R III at the moment, there's $600 instant rebate that you can get on that. The Sony A9 is $1,000 rebate. So that now has become an amazingly priced camera for the specs that it is. It really is incredible. And I think what you paid for that initially, like I said, the amount that you can get for that now, if you compare that, you know, to a D4S or the Canon equivalent, it's incredible value. So I think if you've got the money, now is a great time to buy the A9. The A7R2 is $500 rebate at the moment. The Sony A7 II is $898, so there's a $500 rebate. There's a $600 instant rebate if you want to buy the kit, but I wouldn't buy the kit. I'd save that money and buy a Prime. So I'd get the just the body version there without the kit. The RX 100, there's a $100 instant rebate. The RX 100 Mark, the 1V is a $100 rebate as well. Lenses, the 12 to 24 has a $100 rebate. The 70 to 200 has a $100 rebate. The Sony 50 1.4 has $100 off too, and the 35 1.4 also has $100 off. So, I mean, there's clearly some things going on there. Now, whether Sony are trying to get rid of inventory and, you know, get rid of sort of excess cameras, whether there's something new that's going to be coming out very soon, we don't know. But like I said, if you have a need for a camera, I would probably just jump in now and get those rebates while they're there, particularly the A9. I mean, the A7R is a good saving as well for $600 off for $2,598. That's a great camera for that price. There's no savings on the A7 III though. I think that's because that camera is just selling so well still that Sony don't really have to offer anything off that camera. But really interesting. Take advantage of it if you can. I'm just going to go on to the next story because I won't start questions yet. This is about the Tamron. Let me just put the time in. What are we on? 30:51. Let me get rid of that. What is it? 31:05. All right, so let's look at the Tamron. Now, I'm not quite sure what's gone on here because I noticed the B&H had the Tamron the 17 to 28 as saying it was pre-ordering this morning. It was meant to be 2 a.m. And Eastern Standard Time. Is that New York time? But either way, it was meant to come out this morning. And I've just checked and it's not. Like if we click onto this, it actually just says, notify me when available. So I'm not sure what's gone on there. There's something clearly, B&H have done something that was very, very odd. And there's no price listed yet. We don't know how much this is going to be. Because originally we were meant to find out, well, they weren't even saying we know the price, but what they were saying is you could pre-order it. Now, pre-ordering it without the price, I'm not sure I want to do that anyway. But it looks like we've still got to wait. Now, I noticed they did originally say June, so I'm not sure where B&H got that initial thing there saying it starts at 2 p.m. Thursday, June the 6th. It looks like it's going to be a little bit later on. So I'm not quite sure what's going on yet with this and whether there's been some issues or what that's going on. We still don't know prices of this. I'm hoping it's about the same price as the 28 to 75. I heard a lot of rumblings of people saying if it's over $1,000 that they've sort of shot themselves in the foot. Well, I don't agree with that because how much do you pay for the GM at the moment? The 16 to 35 is probably double what you'll still pay for that. So I think if they're around the $1,000 mark, I still think that it'll sell very, very well. And I can tell you what's probably going to happen with this is that, and I noticed on a lot of the forums that people were saying if it was $1,000 that no one would buy it. I can tell you what's going to happen is it's going to be announced, it's going to be released, it's going to be a fantastic lens, and then everyone's going to then jump on the bandwagon and you're going to be waiting 12 months to get it. So if you do really, really want this lens, I do suggest when it comes on to pre-order that you purchase it. I'm not sure whether I'll get it straight away because I don't, look, I may, if I find that this, and I'm still waiting for a review unit, I haven't heard anything yet. If I find that this is a really nice lens, I might sell my 16 to 35 f4. That could be what I'll do, the Sony version, and I'll buy the Tamron lens. I very rarely shoot at 16mm, so that's probably not an issue for me. So Nivak said the 16 to 35 GM is still 2,100. Yeah, there you go. So if they put this at around $1,000, you're still saving $1,000, which means you can get an amazing prime. So I'm going to see what it's like. I'll see how well it works. And then if it works really well, like I said, I'll probably sell my 16 to 35 and then I'll try and get the 17 to 28. And with the money that I save, say over getting the GM 16 to 35, I can get a really nice 14 mil or a 12 mil prime. That's probably what I'm thinking I'll do. So I'm going to wait and see how the reviews are first. See how it works. I'm sure it'll probably be pretty good. If it's anything like the 28 to 75, it should be excellent. So I think that's the way I'll go. I think I'll sell my 16 to 35. G'day, Aaron. Good to see you in here. So let me just open up the chat just briefly. So what do you guys think? What would you be willing to pay for the 17 to 28? Now, if you're not in the live discussion, let me know in the comment box down below because I'd love to know. Yeah, I'm just curious to know what would be the cutoff point where you'd say, I'm not going to get the Tamron, I'd go for the GM version. Does it worry you particularly about the extra mil that you're losing? It doesn't bother me. Like I said, I could get by with that. It's very rare that I do shoot at 16. But like I said, the money, if that was $1,000 and then I could also buy a nice wide prime, I'd probably be happy with that. And that's why I even love this because I've got the Tamron 28 to 75. Now it's so easy if I need to go wider to just put the 24 GM on there. So that's probably what I'm thinking I will do. I think that I'll get, if it's nice, I'll get the 17 to 28, sell my 16 to 35, and buy a nice prime that's wider. What else? Where were we? So let me just come back to here to see where we were. So a lot of people are saying they think it'll be the 600mm f4. That's what I think it will be. Mike said, would like to see how fast the Canon EOS R85 1.2 focuses in comparison to the 85 GM. Yeah, I'd like to see that too. Delta Dave said, best test for lens sharpness is test shooting currency. Oh, really? Interesting. Is that because of all the fine detail, Dave? You're probably right. Jim said, he's put that in there. Shova said, hook up our boy David and hit the like button. Oh, thank you so much. Shova. Andre says, Sony A7H3, the next camera from Sony. Langston said, hello everyone. G'day Langston, good to see you in here. Cashman said it will be a 0.95 lens. Interesting. Christopher just said, woohoo. Aaron's in here as well. G'day Aaron. Shova said, I want the Tamron 17 to 28 very badly. If it acts like the 28 to 75, it will be a beast of a lens. Yeah. And the other thing too, I said before that I wouldn't sell my 70 to 200 f4 lens, but if Tamron brought out something like that was a really good lens at f2 and it was a lot cheaper, lighter, I may even sell the f4 version to get that. I'm just going to wait and see. I think the next lens from Tamron will be that one. Well, the next zoom lens anyway will be that one. And that will be an exciting one, but probably not till about this time next year, unfortunately. Where are we? Hope you like pics. Hello, everyone. Just joined. Alex said, tempted to sell my A7 III to fund an A9. It's a hard decision, Alex, thinking about that. Like, I can understand why you're saying it because I do love my A9 so much. I could do without the A7 III, but I couldn't do without my A9. You just have to justify how much you'll lose by doing it. If you can do it without losing too much money, I would say go for it. But it's a hard decision if you lose too much money. James said it is well worth half the cost of the GM. I'm not sure what that was about. Shova says, I would pay $700 to $800. However, I will pay $1,000. See, I think Tamron are going to price this up a little bit dearer. I do think it's going to be around the $1,000 mark. And really, look, I don't think you can whinge at that price of that lens for that money. I really don't, because if like I said, if it's as sharp as the 28 to 75 is, and it's a really fantastic lens, I know you're going to hate me saying this, but I wouldn't blame Tamron for putting the price up to around that $1,000 mark. It's still half the price of what you pay for a GM. I don't know, let me know what you think about it. I'd love to know what you guys think about this. I already have the 24 GM and I will buy the Zeiss Batis 18 and not the Tamron. Cool. James says, wish they would have done the 70-200 first. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one as well. Gene said the Tamron 17-28 will be nice to pair with this A6-400 as a travel workaround lens. It would be, actually. It just may not be wide enough, though, so you might then need the 16 Sigma lens, and that could be a great thing about that. Let me just answer this guy because it's someone buying this camera. I'll just answer him. I don't know where that was. I think it was somewhere. Oh, there it is there, yeah. Always meeting down a local place. I hate meeting at my home. I don't do it. So I'm organising to meet in a shopping centre with that guy. I'm always paranoid about when you sell gear to not do it at home. So sorry about that, but it's yeah, just organising a time we're going to meet. I'm selling my A7R too, if anyone was wondering what I'm selling. Let's also see... Yeah, that's why I'm saying, Gene, if you've got the 17-28, you are going to need a wider lens on the A6-400. And like I said, the 16 is perfect for that. 1.4, nice and light and very wide. I'd buy the Tamron. Michelle said, I'd buy the Tamron 17-28 for $1,000. Yeah, well, I did. It was over that price here. The Sony 16-35 f4 is around 1.4 now, US new, currently discounted to $1,300. Yeah, well, I don't think $1,000 is too expensive for that lens. Well, when I say it, I haven't seen the review yet, but I don't think that would be asking too much. Currency won't display in Photoshop. Yeah, I think that's probably true. James said 16-35 f4 is still 1,000 used. The Tamron 2.8 is worth that. I agree, James. Angel said, hello, David. Any info? Want Sigma or Tamron? When Sigma or Tamron will be in the 70-200? Angel, I think it's probably going to be next year about this time. I just want to make this go quiet. I think it's going to be this time next year. They tend to be releasing about this time each year. So I think it'll be about this time. I'm hoping anyway. Sony A7R3 or A9. It depends if you need the resolution. If you need resolution, you need the A7R3. If you want a all-around cam, I think is the best all-around camera that's available. The A9 definitely. It's still my favourite camera that is available out there, especially now with the new tracking. There's nothing like it. So A9 if you can afford it, but if you need resolution, the A7R3. I'm not into zoom lenses, prime forever. Dan Fly said, I'm keeping my 16-35 for my weight is important. So I've got the Tamron 17-28. Then it would require me to carry an additional 35mm lens. But I can understand why people would get that. Alex also said, I have the A7R3, just seeing how good the A9 is, so I'm tempting. Yeah, I know. Look, often a good thing to do is rent one and then try it and see. I could never let mine go. I mean, there's no way I'd replace that at the moment. Price for the Tamron, $1,100 United States dollars, and I reckon you might be about right with that, Andre. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Jim said, we share the same instincts when selling, shopping mall works. Yeah, I don't like selling anything at home. I don't like them coming to my home, so I'm going to go to the local shopping centre. You think you will miss the 42? No, I won't, Steve, because I never use it. The thing is, I very rarely ever use my A7R2. And that's the thing, I just don't... You know what, for the way I shoot, it's not like I'm going out and blowing up massive posters all the time and things like that. Like, what I get from the A7 III and the A9 is way good enough for anything I'm ever going to produce, which is sharing on like for my portfolio. It's fantastic for sharing Instagram, on Facebook. It's also fantastic if you want to print up big posters. I mean, the posters I've got behind me were done with 24 megapixel cameras. You know, I mean, this was done, this here. So that, let me just move this chair. This was done, oh, I've got to go that way. This was done with a 24 megapixel camera. I mean, I very rarely produce posters that are, you know, like this. And you know, the quality of this print, this is a canvas, but the quality of this canvas is brilliant. And this is a 24 megapixel camera. So, you know, I used to shoot weddings with a D3S, and that was 12 megapixels. All the wedding albums that I produce, it's ample enough for that. Look, I'm not producing massive poster size files, so 24 megapixels is ample for me. But like I said, if you will know if that's not good enough for you, like I said, if you're doing a lot of landscape type work, it can make a difference. If you're doing architecture, it can. Things like that, but I find 24 megapixels is enough. Now, I'm not saying that I won't get another high megapixel camera. I might. If Sony bring out an A7R4, I may buy it. Yeah, but I don't need the resolution. That's the thing I'm saying to you. What else? Langston said, I don't trust anyone I meet at the police station when selling gear. I can understand that. Would love the A9. Oh, you would love the A9. Yep, the A9 is incredible. It really is. The mall I use has a police officer permanently, Jim says. MJ says, hi, my name is Matt and I have gas. It's been 2 months since my last lens. I love it. I meet people with brass knuckles. That's because of your new look, Aaron. You just scare them off now with your new look. I might only have rent-a-cops. At least if you're in a place where there's a lot of other people, and this is why I'm saying, if you're in a place where there's a lot of other people, the chances of something happening are far less than if they just come to your door. Plus, it's not good if they just come to your door anyway, then they know where you live and everything else. Wow, David is drinking real coffee. I am drinking real coffee today. It's too cold to be drinking beer with you guys. I will be back on that when it's summer, though. Trust me. I'll be back onto the real stuff. James says, I love the A7R II. It's my main shooter. I think it's the best bang for buck in the Sony lineup. It's a great camera, James. I agree with you. I just wasn't using it, so I'm trying to preempt something coming up that I might want to buy. And then, you know, it may not be worth what I can get for it now. Just getting on with you now. I'm not sure if you've talked about the new... Yes, I have. Yep, you might have to go back and look at it after this. I think it will be at least 3,000. Well, most people are saying 2, so that's what they're saying at the moment. Dan Fly said, I've only had the 16 to 35 GM since owning my A7 III and haven't required any other lenses for landscape street shooting that I do. Yeah, well, look, like I said, I think 24 megapixels is the perfect file size. Not too large to manipulate, not too large to store. So that's why I don't use the A7R II in weddings that much, because the file sizes just end up being too big. Aaron says, Carl, I was looking in his up as well. I'm not sure what that means. Oh, the coffee, yeah. Bart says, in what situation would you shoot with the A7 III instead of the A9? Well, never if I had the choice. Flash particularly could be one, because if I need to use fast flash, the A9 can only do 5 frames per second, whereas the A7 III will do, I think it's 10. So if that was, a circumstance, if I needed to shoot video and use log profiles, I would also shoot with the A7 III because the A9 doesn't have log. But having said that, I don't really shoot with log anyway, so that's not a consideration. And I'm usually not shooting with fast flash unless I'm dealing with doing dance stuff. If I'm doing dance type work where I need that fast shutter speed or fast flash sync, I would use the A7 III for that sort of stuff. So that's the other time that I would use the A7 III. The reason why I'll always use the A9 is because I love using the silent shutter so much. I love having the ability to shoot 1/32,000th of a second if I need it. That is a big bonus for me, particularly, like if you want to use these lenses like the 24 1.4 wide open, you need a fast shutter speed. So sometimes only having 1/8000th of a second is not fast enough. So having that ability to do that is amazing. The tracking autofocus too is groundbreaking. I just adore it. Even the general autofocus is better. But yeah, it's just a nicer camera. I like the controls, how you've got everything on the top instead of having to go through menus. So I would use the A9 over the A7 III if I had the choice. Aaron says he needs 100 megapixels. I love it. Angel said, David, I printed 20/30 for my A7 III. Superb. No, yeah, and that's it. You can easily go 20/30 on an A. I often do. I actually go up to 60. I think I did one the other day, which was 30/60. It was a panoramic one, and it looked beautiful. And that was from a 24 megapixel file. Oreo's here. G'day, Oreo. Elliot said, the Sony 135 GM, how are you finding that for doing portraits? And how often are you using it? By the way, very nice print. Now, thank you, Elliot. I'm using it all the time now, the 135. I can't put it down, to be honest, for portraits. As long as I've got enough room to step back, that's the issue with it. You do have to be a fair way away from your talent. But it's also nice, beautiful for head and shoulders as well. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. The separation you get from that lens is outstanding. I love it. I really do love it. So it's one of the best purchases I've bought, that's for sure. Aaron said, I printed 20/30 with 24 megapixel many times. Love my A9, it's unbelievably good. I agree with you. Taz said, sold my Tamron 150-600mm today on eBay. Getting ready for the 200-600. Ah, so you've preempted as well. Hopefully it's not more than 1700. I think it probably will. I think it's going to be around 2, but that's what they're saying at this stage. Aaron said, if I went back to Sony right now with the current lineup, I would get the A9. Jim said, it seems the A9 is geared more for sports, but both the A9 and the A7 III have the same sensor size, 24. Yeah, it's more those things like that 1/32,000th. I use that all the time, Jim. Having that ability to go above 8,000th of a second is a big deal for me because I often do like to shoot wide open. So that is a really big deal for me. Being able to go into a wedding and shoot silently, being able to go into a dance, shoot and shoot silently is just amazing without worrying about the rolling shutter. Stuff like that is a big plus. Having the 20 frames also is a really big thing as well because that can be the difference of getting that perfect moment and not getting the perfect moment. Nevak said, the rumour 200-600 is literally a G. Yeah, it's not a GM apparently, it's a G. That's why I think it'll be about 2. Alex said, main reason I love the A7R III is the ability to crop in and still have 18 megapixel image. I use my 85 and 135 on it and can quickly crop if I need to. Yep, I can totally understand that. I very rarely crop my images though. I usually shoot for them to be correct in camera. But yeah, I can understand that if you need more reach. Brett says, I've had printed a lot with the A7 II and the A7 III at sizes of 20/30 in landscape. Plenty of file size, I agree, Brett. Damfly said, where are we? The Sign 4 is a lot easier to work with than log for gauging exposure and working in post. I don't use any of them. I just use standard profiles and I love the look of it. But that's just me. Casper's got a real coffee link there. Jim said, Aaron, I've printed 24/36 from the A500 and the A600 without missing any detail. That's why I went with the A9, no digging through menus. Yeah, I love having those extra controls on the camera. It does make a big difference having those controls. You've got the ability to change how you shoot on the top there, whether you want high speed, low speed, single shot, timer, and then you've got your AFC controls underneath, and that is a big difference, and I love that. But just being able to touch on the screen and do track focusing, amazing. I just got a donation too. Thank you, Tazam. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that donation. We'll move on to the next story in a minute, guys. I just want to go through some of these questions. Langston says, I don't get out of standard colour for the things I get paid for. Hopefully I'll get my first chance to edit soon and I can show the client the value of some colour grading. Bart said, thanks for the answer. I own the A7 III and was curious. I just switched from Sony, from Canon, and primarily use the A7 III for video. Yep. And that's the A7 III is definitely a better video camera though. That's the thing you've got to understand if you leave profiles and stuff like that. I still love the look of the A9 though. Like when I use the A7 III and the A9, I still love the look of the A9. There's something about it. And obviously the autofocus is better now because you've got the tracking in it, which makes a big difference. So if you're more worried about that side of it and you can get by with the standard profiles, even for video, I get the A9. But if you do like using profiles, you get the A7 III. Photoman says, I'm so tempted to buy the A9. Tough to wait for the new Sony. The thing is too, it depends also how much you want to pay. If there is a new A9, and I'm not convinced there will be, if there is a new A9, you are going to pay a hell of a lot more for it than what you could pay for an A9 now. The A9 is still going to be an amazing camera for the next 3 years, and that's how you look at it. There's nothing can compete with it. So if you're looking at it from that aspect, if you buy an A9 now, it's still going to be an incredible camera next year and the year after. And that's how you sort of have to think about things like that. Will Tamron be releasing a 70-200? I think next year. Rumours the A9 Mark II will be released later this year. What feature would you want it to have that the current A9 doesn't have? Well, who knows? I mean, it might be, 40 frames per second. It might be better low light. I mean, we don't know, do we? I mean, I'm totally happy with the A9 how it is, to be honest. It'll be interesting to see what they do add in it because I can't see how the tracking could be that much better than what it is. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Mike said, I shot a video with the A9 at an event and ended up with moire with patterns. Oh, I haven't had that, Mike. In some shirts and patterns in some backgrounds. Wow. Interesting. Langston said, I rented the A7R III and actually really liked it for portraits. Granted, it lends itself more for a lot more for work. Yeah, and Oreo said the same thing too the other day. Oreo has just bought the A9 and he said he still preferred the A7R III over the A9 for colour. So, it just depends what people want, I suppose. Aaron said, everything David said about the A9, A9 is why... the A9 is why I would get the A9. Also, the extra dial on top. AG said, hey, David, do you know if the 17-28 offers macro-like abilities? Yes, it does. Oh, no. Well, I don't know yet. We don't know because I haven't seen it yet. The macro abilities, almost macro abilities of the 28-75 are incredible. Thank you so much for that donation, Tazam. All right, I'm going to keep going. Elliot said, do you think Sony will bring out a 105? Yes, I do, but I'm not sure when. James said, please release an A9 too. I will be all over the discounted A9. I love it. All right, let's go to the next story, which is what was the next one? Capture One. I just wanted to show this because Capture One... and I won't even talk about, I'm only going to talk about this for a couple of seconds. Capture One have got an update if you are dealing with Capture One. It's 12.0.4 and I think they've just added support for the 135 GM. So if you are into Capture One, please update it because it will now, and you've got a 135 obviously, it now supports the 135. So that's fantastic. There is a whole list of bug features that they've fixed in it. As well, and I think it's fixed an issue it's saying there too with Canon and the X-T2 images might show artifacts. Anyway, there's a stack there. But for Sony users, it's now got the 135 support inside it. So that's all there is for that. Now, this other one, I just wanted to share this with you reasonably quickly because it's interesting what Tamron are doing. 05. Because... I noticed that the 35 is, I think it's just on pre-order at the moment, and it's $8.99 apparently. I'm hoping this comes out for Sony because this would be a really interesting one. Because Tamron are saying with this that this is the best lens that they've ever produced. And it's only available for Canon and Nikon at the moment. But you could obviously use this with an MC11 or something like that. I'm not sure how well it will focus, but you could use it with that. I found that the Canons that I used when I got the Sigma 135 on the MC11 was outstanding, but I'm not sure whether that was because it was a Canon. I don't know how the Tamron would work, but Tamron are basically saying that this is the best lens that they've ever produced. So I'd love to have a look at this and just see how this is. Now, I'm just hoping that some of these developments obviously come down onto the Sony area as well, that they start producing some of these beautiful lenses that they're starting to produce natively. Tamron seem to be really starting to hit the ball out of the park. They really are producing great glass now, just like Sigma are as well. Oh, it's too big, is it? Yeah, let me reduce it down. It's too large. Let me just click there. This is it here. So it's this one. It's the SP35 1.4. It's called the DIUSD. And like I said, it's $8.99 and you can pre-order it now. And it's saying lens mount is, I think it's saying EOS. Canon EOS, it's saying there. I'm not sure, but I read somewhere that there was a Nikon version of this and a Canon version of this lens. They're saying it's the superior performance. So interesting anyway, so it'll be interesting. They're saying beautiful bokeh. I mean, it does look nice if you look at the image down here. It's beautiful and smooth in the background. But anyway, I really do hope that they release something like this for Sony. And the more that we get lenses that are developed for Sony, the better they'll be. And this is why I think, we're getting these sort of lenses now that, these GM lenses that can be so nice and small. Even the 135 is much smaller and lighter than what the Sigma version was. So obviously the lenses, if they're designed for Sony correctly, can be great lenses. So, I'm hoping Sigma also do this. They've said they're going to start doing it. So once they start doing that, we might be going to start to get some really amazing lenses for the Sony platform. So that's that. Now, I wanted to just put this up because this is really interesting. 10105. I wanted to show this. I went through it and I noticed a couple of people were saying in the videography school this morning that there's a color test that you can do, and it's interesting to do. So I'll leave the link down below. I think someone said they were... Kerry, my wife, did it. She got 9 out of 10. I said I hate her because she got one more than me. I got 8 out of 10 when I did this. Aaron said he got 7 out of 10. But they're saying only 1% get 10 out of 10. So it's interesting. So there's a whole test that you do when you go through it. And I won't show you the test because I'd like to see... how you went with it. Let me just say I got 8 out of 10. Let me see what the percentage is on that. So it looks like most people are getting, say, between 7 and 8. Fewer have obviously got 9 and even fewer have got 10. Well, I got 8 out of 10. And like I said, Kerry got 9 out of 10. So it's a really interesting test. So make sure you take it. I just thought I'd put it in to show you. Like I said, I'll stick the link in down below so you can have a look at it. It's fun. It's quite challenging, a couple of them, to sort of get it to work. Try and do it where you're not too tired, obviously. But give that a go because I'd love to know what you think about it. All right, so let's go on to the last story, and please don't start with the Profoto, whatever, because I'm just going to discuss it for you just to show you. What are we? 102 40. I just wanted to mention that Profoto have brought out a new light. It's called the Profoto B10 Plus. I've known about this for quite some time. I was under NDA, so I couldn't talk about it. I've known about it for about a month or so, probably 6 weeks. So I've been trying to sort of talk about it. I will get a version of this to test sometime. So I think I'm looking forward to trying it, but it's probably not going to be something I'm going to buy, though. The reason why I don't think I'll buy it is due to the size that this is. Because I think if you look at it, it's basically an exact design that the Profoto B10 is. It's just a little bit longer in the front and a little bit bigger. It takes the same battery that the B10 does, and apparently the light that you get, the continuous light, which is for me the game changer, I will, it's exactly the same. So there's no benefit in buying the larger light if you want sort of brighter continuous lighting. They're both exactly the same. So there's no benefit in that side of it. But if you do want the extra stop of light, it obviously would be the way to go. And you can see here that that's the difference in size that you're talking about between the two of them. So it is quite a bit larger. I think they're saying this one is like a large 70 to 200mm lens. So it'd probably be about a similar size to the G Master version. And there's some great videos. If you haven't looked at the videos, like I said, I'll leave that in the link below. Check this video out particularly. Stunning model in a stunning location. It's quite beautiful. So have a look at the video that's there as well. It looks like a gorgeous location. Anyway, that's available now if you want to do it. I believe it's about $600 dearer than what the Profoto B10 is. But I think looking at it, initially when I looked at it, I thought, yeah, here we go again. Kerry's going to hate me. But I've thought about it, and I don't think I'm going to do it because I love the size that this is. And there's a couple of reasons. I'll explain why. I love the size that this is because I can stick this in my camera bag down that way in a normal lens mount, and it sits in beautifully. So, because it's just the size of a lens. It's like the size of a large lens, and I can stick it that way up. The larger one, you would have to put down there, and then it's going to take up much larger room, and you probably couldn't travel very easily with it. The other thing too is that they both take the same battery. So they both take this battery. But you get double, obviously because it's double the capacity, you get 400 shots full power with this one. And you get 200 with the new one. So that can be a bit of an issue as well. The other thing is I've found, believe it or not, that with the Magnum reflector on this, I have no problem overpowering full daylight sun. So I probably don't need the 500 watts one. I'm finding that this is way powerful enough for what I use. It's fantastic for travel. I'm also lucky that I have B1s as well. I mean, I've got 3 B1s. So if I do need 500 watts, I've got those that I can use, and they're battery operated. So I don't think I'll purchase the new one. I think I'm just going to keep this. In fact, I think if I was going to get another one, I'd probably get another B10. I don't think I'll get the Plus, due to the fact that I just don't want the larger size. This is such a beautiful travel-friendly flash that's so easy to use, so easy to hold. I get 400 flashes off it. I've got the continuous light, which I use more than the flash often, and the new light has the same power. So I don't think I'll be getting it. I think I'll probably stick with what I've got. And like I said, I think if I was going to get another one, I'd probably get another B10. I don't think I'll get the B10 Plus. I'm not bagging it. I think it's a fantastic product, but I just don't think it's for me. But I'll let you know when I test it, because I will get one for testing, obviously. But I love my B10. I adore it. And I think if it was me, I'd buy another B10. But yeah, but that's it. All right, so let's open up to Q&A for a few minutes. So what are we on now? 1:07. 15. So fire away if you have any questions, guys. Love to know anything at all. Let me bring this back. I was showing the B10, wasn't I? Hopefully I was. I'll just show you there because I'm not sure I was on it. Let me just show you the B. Oh yeah, I think I did. I showed you all of that, didn't I? I just switched when I showed you the lens. Let me go to Q&A. Stuart said, any chair... Oh, I'll come back. I'll come to that because... global shutter could be a possibility, but I'm not sure. It'll be interesting to see. Langston said, not sure to be honest. Still going back and forth between that and the A7 III because of the video features. Right now, I'll make more from videos. Having a B cam that matches seems more valuable. I'm not sure what you were talking about what camera. Specs listed for the Tamron 17-28 was 19cm for minimum focus distance. Oh, okay. Altrix said, any word on the new firmware for the A9? No, they just mentioned summer, Altrix, so it may be the end. It still could be 2 months away. We just don't know. Global shutter could be a possibility on the A7S, and it could be a possibility on the A9 too. We'll have to wait and see. Elliot said, do you think Sony will bring out a 105? Yes, I do, but we just don't know when yet. But there is patents out for it, so I think it's just a matter of time. Please release an A9. They wanted the discounted A9. Stratos said, I'm using Luminar 3 to modify my photos. It's great and cheap, just about 100 United States dollars. The license is lifetime. Yep, cool. I fixed that screen. Do you think Sony will be releasing any fast zooms for APS-C? Well, I hope so, Peter. They just haven't seemed to give it much love lately, have they? I mean, I love the Sigma 16 that I've got. So hopefully Sigma may release some. I'd love like their 18 to 35mm if that would come out. That'd be a fantastic lens as well. But I don't know. We hopefully, yes. Aaron said, David, you just guessed right one more than me. David, you just guessed right on one more than me. Oh, yeah, I need one more for that color test, yes. Stuart said, any chance of a channel promo code for C.R.Kennedy imaging? I've asked, I'm just not sure they do that, Stuart. They often have sales, though, so perhaps I may list those. But they don't do promo codes as such, though. Aaron said, the light looks great. Yeah, it does. I mean, it's beautiful. It is a beautiful design. Oreo said, I find it very strange that all lens makers except the Samyang and for the manual focus makers like Shinogi or however it's pronounced are neglecting the 50mm focal length for Sony. Oh, I don't know why either. That's interesting, Oreo. Tazam said, I have a feeling that Sony will add real-time AF soon to the A7 III. I don't think they will. I don't think the processor can handle it. That's the problem. So I don't think you're going to find that's going to be put in the A7 III. Tasm, I know you're probably hoping, but I don't think it's going to happen. Michael said, speak louder so Kerry can hear you say that I'm not buying it. We just need Profoto to sponsor me, guys. I mean, Profoto, if you're listening to this, please sponsor me because I would like the B10 Plus or give me another B10. I'd love to be sponsored by Profoto. I'm not, though. I buy it out of my own money. So when you hear me raving about it, it's all purchased out of my own money. I mean, I've got the A1X, A1X for Sony at the moment, but I've got to give that back. That's not mine. I mean, that's C.R.Kennedy. Well, actually, it's not C.R.Kennedy's. It's Profoto's. So I do have to give that back in 2 weeks, I think. Aaron said more. Oh, thank you, Sammy Photography, for the donation. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Where was I? Aaron said, more power, good for lighting up larger rooms, but yeah, the smaller B10, good for most of what I would ever need. Yeah, and the thing is, what you've got to understand about this too, I don't understand how the ratings are for this, because I've got the B1s, which is 500 watts. Now, the power of this is very, very close to what the B10s is. Is very close to the B1s. Very close. It's probably, I don't know, might be a third of a stop less. It's very, very close. So sometimes the wattage can be a little bit different. I'm not sure if it's how they're focused or whatever, but I'm finding the power of these is pretty close to what I get with my B1s, and that's a 500 watt strobe. Now, believe it or not, when I put the Magnum reflector on this thing, it does almost become a 1000 watt strobe. And I don't know how it does it. It must be some concentration with the light. But when I put, and I've measured it with my light meter, so I'm not just talking crap here, I've measured it and I get nearly 2 stops extra light. So when I put the Magnum on this, I get nearly 1000 watts of light. So that's why I'm saying to you that with this, when I put the Magnum reflector on here, I can overpower any daylight. So I'm not sure that I need the 500 watt strobe. Just putting the Magnum on is incredible. So I don't know whether I even need it anymore. Sharon said, what lens is better, the Sony 135 1.8 or the Sigma 105? It depends. I love both of them. Look, you can't go past the Sony. I'll tell you why the Sony is better. The Sony is better for a number of reasons. It's lighter. You've got your focus hole buttons on this. You've also got the declickable aperture here as well, and you've got I shouldn't say much better, but you've got better focusing than what you get with the 105, because I was surprised how well the 105 focused. But this is a much better lens if you're talking about technology, if you're talking about handling, if you're talking about having the declickable aperture ring, if you're talking about having your focus modes in here, and the motors. The focus motors in this are much more silent, and they are quicker in low light, definitely. So I think if you're dealing that way, the Sony 135 is way better. The Sigma 105 though is better if you're dealing with tight spaces, and until Sony bring out a 105, well, there isn't any competition in that area. So if you want to shoot in that 105mm range and have 1.4, the Sigma is a great lens, because you are standing much closer than you will with a 135. But both great lenses. They both are. I love the 105. Where were we? I hate that, because you always find it. Oh, there we go. So I've explained that. Yeah, I mean, I would get the 135 before I got the 105, but I just love that 135 focal length. But I still love the 105 lens. I'm laughing at Sammy Photography says Aaron's new look. He's auditioning for Boogie Nights too. Jim said good morning. Hero says greetings from 70 minutes in the past. Laugh out loud. I just got the notification. This is what I'm saying, Hero. If you can, guys, I'd love it if you could give me a thumbs up. I don't know what it is about YouTube. Like Jim has, Hero has just got his notification now. I'm not sure what's going on with it. Gene says, are you getting the Rockion Samyang 85 1.4? Well, I'd like to get it to try out. I just don't know how I'd get it. C.R.Kennedy don't stock that lens, I don't think. So I may not be able to. I'd like to try it though. Ken says, which photographer inspires you as why? Photographers that inspire me, Yervont, definitely, who's an Australian photographer. Oh, two Australian photographers actually. Yervont and Jerry Guionis inspire me. I really like those two photographers. So they're two photographers that really do inspire me. Yervont is amazing though. Aaron said, getting free gear is nice. Yes, it is if you can get it. Hero says, are the Profotos smaller than normal strobes? I'm wondering because when I fly, I could see the value in these lights compared to big... well, they are, yes. The size of this is incredible in itself. It really is small. I really do like it. And like I said, it only takes up the spot of a lens. So in my camera bag, it just takes up that size. So it's fantastic to travel with. Really good. And I also, like I said, I also love the ability that I can just turn on at any time, you know, the continuous light. So that for me is the game changer part for this light. You know, having that ability and then to be able to change it. See, I can change the color. I mean, it's just incredible. And I'll show you from the front. But, you know, that's warm. And if I go there, it will be blue. You know, and then I can also control the power of this as well. So I can go down to really, like, that's quite low, you know, and then I can go right up to bright. So, you know, I use this more than anything that I do, because I find that I do most of my work now using the continuous light because it's so powerful and it's so good. I can stick it in a diffuser and it's still enough to work. If I stick it in with the Magnum, it gets ridiculously bright. But to have all that ability in the one unit is game-changing for me. And it really is. And I think the design is beautiful. It's small. Having that continuous light with color control light built in, and I don't have to take anything else that I can use for shoot, is fantastic. There's nothing like it out there. And, you know, I know Profoto is expensive, and I know it is. But for me, Kerry wasn't happy when I bought this. She wasn't happy at all. But when she's seen how we use it now, she actually said to me, I can see why you bought that, David, and it has changed the way we shoot. It's brilliant. There's nothing like it out there. It really isn't. The video light on this too is non-flicker, so you can use it as a video light. There's no flicker in it at all. It's brilliant. It lasts ages on the one battery. Yeah, it's fantastic. It really is. It's such a great light. Like I said, I'd buy another one of those tomorrow. This is the B10 though, Jim. So this is just the Profoto B10. So the new one is the Plus, but the new one is much larger, so it's not as travel friendly. That's why I love this one, because this is travel friendly. I would buy if it worked with the Godox trigger. Yeah, well, it will. It'll work. No, it won't, will it? I don't think. It'll work with... No, I don't think it can. The Profoto B1s do, though, because they'll work with any trigger because they have a sync cable. But you have to have the Profoto trigger for that to work. Yep. And we're just about there, I think. Hero says the 105 doesn't leave my A6400. That'd be great on there for that reach. Rui said that coffee is cold by now. Yeah, I know. I'll go and get another one in a minute anyway. The Rockion 85 1.4 is nice, but I wouldn't get it over the 85 1.8 from Sony, as the low light isn't as spectacular. Oh, interesting, Hero. So the focus is not as good in low light. Well, thanks for sharing that. They're the things that I'd have to test. Hero says, wow, you can change the color. That's cool. Yeah, I know the display is brilliant on this because I love how you can see it very, very big, what you're changing. So, you know, that's fantastic. I love just, all you have to do to click in to turn the LED light on is just to click that on. And then obviously that controls the power. And then if you press it in, that's how you change the color of the LED. So you're going from blue up to your very, very warm, which is fantastic. And like I said, it's really powerful, you know, really powerful. You can see how much it's lighting up this room. Like, yeah, I mean, it is really bright, really bright. But to have that control that you can dial that right down, you know, to sort of see like that with me lighting up now, is brilliant. And I often put this in a 2-foot octa with continuous light, and that's how I do my reception and shoots. So if I'm dealing with shooting at night time, I often use this in a reflector and don't even use flash at all. Brilliant. It's such a brilliant thing. They have done continuous lights before, Mike. They do some high-end continuous lights, so they already have them. What else have we got? Elliot said, so the majority of your shots are done with the continuous light. Yes. Well, when I say no, not during the day, they're not, Elliot, but the second it becomes dusk or nighttime, yes, I use the continuous light because it's just so easy. I can see what I'm getting. I don't have to worry about balancing ambient using gels and things like that. I can just balance it with my with the continuous light. It's changed the way I shoot. When I do receptions now, speeches, or even going around photographing all the people, it's always with continuous light with the Profoto B10. That's the way I work all the time now. I never use flash in those scenarios anymore. And I use the continuous light, yes, in the evening more than I use flash. I'm waiting for my A7 IV. Who knows? I mean, that might be a camera that I'll probably get too. Mike says, I wonder if Profoto will... Oh, I've already mentioned that. I'd love a B10. Yeah, they're great, Oreo. They really are worth the money. If you've got the money, they're fantastic. Best regards from Spain. Delta Dave said, if the B10 Plus had the option to run off the mains, I'd get a couple. You can run them off the mains, Dave. They do work off mains power. You just plug it in through the battery there. You plug that into the power and it charges as you're going. So you can run them off mains. That's one of the benefits of having the B10 and the B10 Plus. So that does work. Elliot said, I know Rotomelight makes continuous light as well. Yes, it does. It's not as powerful as what they see. The beauty of this, though, is you've got a very powerful flash built into it as well as a continuous light. The roto lights aren't powerful enough in their flash, and that's the problem. So I can overpower daylight with this, and then I can also use it at nighttime with the continuous light. Sammy said, how are you liking the Osmo Action? Really good so far. I'm probably going to use that on Sunday's shoot, and I'm going to attach it on top of the camera and show my shoot that way for something different. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, I haven't ordered NDs for it yet, though. I probably will have to do that. Is the Sony 70-200 f4 good? It's fantastic. I love it. Bruce said, using continuous lights, what ISO will you be using? It depends. Like, often, I think my standard sort of amount, it gets up to around 800 is usually the sort of area that I'll go. But I'll easily go up to 1600 and 3200 if I have to. The point is that with these new cameras, as long as you expose correctly, the ISO is not really an issue anymore. I use Photoshop to edit my photos, Lightroom and Photoshop, Elliot. What does the B10 Plus have? What does the B10 Plus have? The variable color temperature slider. Well, I'm not sure what you mean, Dave, by that. It doesn't tell you temperature. I see what you're saying. Yeah, it doesn't have a temperature scale. You just basically slide it to match whatever ambient you like. It doesn't tell you the temperature, though. I never worry about the temperature anyway. With any of the lights, a lot of the lights that I have, like this one that I just reviewed the other day, that has the color temperature on it. But look, to be honest, a lot of them aren't dead accurate anyway, and I just use it to balance with my eye. So I look at what the ambient is giving me, and then I'll just move the slider until it matches perfectly what the ambience is. So that's how I do it. Manuel says, yes, just checked out Yervant. Very gorgeous images. Yeah, he is amazing. Yervant's an amazing and a lovely guy as well. He's a local Melbourne shooter. He's one of the best wedding photographers in the world. Brilliant. All right, guys, I better go because I've got to get ready to sell this camera at 12 o'clock. Apart from that, let me know if you have any questions, leave them down below. And obviously, I'll see you all in the next video that I post up. Have a great weekend as well. It's Friday here, so it's only Thursday for you in the US and Europe. Apart from that, like I said, leave any questions and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Have a great day, guys. Great evening, and I'll see you all for the next video. G'day, everyone.